Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Core Connections 2021. I'm Nicola Prokop, Policy Analyst with the Regulatory Leadership Department at Technical Safety BC. Before we begin, I'd like to acknowledge that I am joining you from Vancouver, which is the traditional and unceded territory of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh Nations. As this is a virtual session, I know that you are joining us from Indigenous territories all across BC. So I ask that each of you take a moment today to think about the territories you're on, the people you share that land with, and how you are connected. Now, we are honored to welcome George Taylor from the Kwakwaka'wakw Nation. His potlatch name is Nalas, which means the turning point. He is the founder of the Leilala Dancers, which means traveling from here to there in the Kwakwala language. They are a Victoria-based traditional Indigenous dance company presenting the First Nations culture of Northern Vancouver Island. The group has shared their culture by entertaining and educating throughout the world for over 30 years. Welcome, George.
Kerakasla. Kerakasla means hello, welcome, and thank you in my language of the Kwakwaka'wakw Nation. I also like to gratefully acknowledge that we live, work, and play on the many traditional, ancestral, and unceded territories of British Columbia. We, as Indigenous people, honor our connection to Mother Earth and Father Sky. We do this through songs, stories, and dances. We believe that it is the natural wealth of our surroundings that sustain us all. And we all must do our part to take care of her for our future generations. I commend you all for your continued work in the role of safety. I now would like to acknowledge this with a traditional four-corner blessing, which identifies the four spirits, realms that interest with each other: sky spirits, sea spirits, earth spirits, and worthy spirits. What an honor to be in your presence and for you to request me doing this. Hakela Kasla, for you to visit me, you to query no guanu. Kela Kasla, Kanu Kasiye. Hayeya, Aoma Akilaga, Kano, Yaheya, hey, Hakela Katla, Yuto Quili no Guano, Haye. Oi! 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 Akela Kessler, what an honor to be doing this. I'd like to now finish with the sharing of a song of celebration to uplift you and to inspire you. As you proceed with your important discussion today, I'm so proud of what you people do for our nation, for our province, for our people. Beautiful British Columbia. We ho hey whoa hey whoa hey away hey way hey whoa hey whoa hey whoa hey away hey hey whoa hey whoa hey whoa hey away hey way hey whoa hey whoa hey away hey hey whoa Happy Bakwalam. Kayla Kasla Ditadak. Hey, thank you. Kayla Kasla.
Thank you, George. That was so beautiful and inspiring, and we are honored to have you here today. Each year, as a part of our commitment to safety in British Columbia, Technical Safety BC hosts our annual public meeting, Core Connections. This is an opportunity for British Columbians across the province to connect with us as the regulator. Similar to last year, Core Connections 2021 is taking place virtually in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. This year, to increase engagement of opportunities for all attendees, we have extended our Q&A session with our board chair and entire executive team. Additionally, this year, we will be hosting topic-specific breakout sessions and leveraging our new engagement site, Engage Technical Safety BC. Our engagement site will allow attendees to ask questions about specific topics, provide feedback on the event, and share topics of interest in the discussion forum. As an essential service, Technical Safety BC remains committed to supporting our clients and the public in accessing British Columbia's safety system, regardless of external circumstances. Hosting Core Connections online allows for true province-wide participation, and we are so excited to have you here with us today. Thank you everyone for joining us today from across the province. Before we jump into the agenda, I'd like to go through just a couple of housekeeping items. Today's event will be recorded, and portions of the event will be shared on social media through our Technical Safety BC channels. Please feel free to join the conversation online and share content with people in your network who are unable to join. We would love to see you sharing. With presentations, the Q&A period, as well as breakout sessions, we have a jam-packed and exciting 2 hours ahead of us this morning, as you can see from our rundown. So let's begin. We are pleased to present the 2020 State of Safety and our annual report. Our annual report details our business transformation, financial performance, and our primary goals as an organization. Meanwhile, the State of Safety provides a snapshot of technical safety in the province, along with the organization's impact on the safety system throughout 2020. Both reports are now live on our website at Technical Safety BC. The State of Safety's fully digital report provides a variety of interactive charts that invite readers to explore the data, as well as link to stories that showcase the work we have done over the last year to improve safety in British Columbia. Okay, our first presenters this morning are Technical Safety BC's board chair, Mr. George Abbott, and our president and lead executive officer, Ms. Catherine Roon. They will speak to the State of Safety in 2020, our annual report, as well as Technical Safety BC's other accomplishments over the past year. Some of you may recognize our chair, George Abbott, from his past life in government. He was first elected as an MLA for the Shuswap in 1996. He served as minister of a number of major ministries over the years, and he was also deputy house leader for the official opposition before his retirement. Please welcome George Abbott.
Thank you very much, and good morning. It's a real pleasure to join you today. I understand we have record numbers of folks from all over the province with us today. So welcome everyone. It's wonderful to have so many people on board for this discussion of safety and Technical Safety BC. I wanted to start as well with thanks to George Taylor for a very inspiring welcome and songs. Thank you, George. That was wonderful. We do have, of course, Technical Safety BC operations in every corner of British Columbia, and people are joining us from every corner of British Columbia today. The main offices, of course, are in Vancouver, the traditional and unceded territories of the Coast Salish peoples. I'm joining you today from Greater Victoria, the traditional and unceded territories of the Lekwungen and Wasanich peoples. So I'm very honored to join you today and to live here in beautiful Greater Victoria. This has been a remarkably tough, challenging year for so many people as a consequence of the COVID-19 challenges that we've had now for 15 months. And I really want to say a sincere thank you to every British Columbian who has played a role in supporting and strengthening our province's safety system in a year of unparalleled uncertainty. We have not seen a year like this for a long, long time, well over a century since we had a pandemic of this character, and it has posed thousands of challenges to billions of people, and British Columbia was no exception. So thank you for all you've done to keep British Columbia safe during a very tough 15 months. Adaptability is one of our core values at Technical Safety BC, and a value that we have most embodied over the past year. Adaptability has been essential over the past year. All of you have demonstrated resiliency and persistence in the face of hardship. And the pandemic, as we know from Dr. Bonnie Henry yesterday, the pandemic's not over yet. Hopefully we're getting close, but there's much work still ahead. And we know our safety system can adapt to whatever challenges may arise in the weeks and months ahead. We've been very fortunate to have a great board of directors at Technical Safety BC. They have worked very closely with the executive team as we have attempted to ensure both financial sustainability, because there's been, of course, financial consequences to the pandemic, probably much more difficult for a lot of people than us, but we've had a taste of it as well. But we've also worked with management to try to ensure that safety risks are front of mind during this again highly unusual period that we have been living through. The novel pandemic has brought novel challenges, and we want to thank the board members for their dedication and insight during these challenging times. We've had a few changes on the board, which I'd like to note. We'd like to thank outgoing directors Karen Basilewski, Ian Banks, Brenda Eaton, and Jordy Henderson for their outstanding contributions to safety and good governance over the years that they were a part of our board. We'd like to also welcome 4 new and relatively new board members. Angela Wesley, Ken Turand, and Jeremy Coughlin joined the board in January and February of 2020, and Daniel Smythe joined the board just in April of this year. We actually look forward to seeing him in a live setting one of these months when we can have a traditional board meeting rather than Zooming. Not that isn't a wonderful thing as well. It's certainly been a good substitute for live meetings over a long period of time. Really appreciate the insights that our new board members will be bringing to the board, and it'll further strengthen an already remarkable board that includes David Guscott, Gail Stevens, Nancy Olweiler, Jeremy Black, Neil Cumming, Ivan Limpright, and Judy Kavanaugh. Just a great board. We've enjoyed remarkable collaboration, insights that have helped to guide this great organization through difficult times and choppy waters as we've tried to deal with that issue with COVID-19. We're also very fortunate to have a remarkably capable executive during these very challenging times, and I want to say special thank you. They have worked so hard during this period, and they're high achievers. And when you're obliged to do much of your work from home, it's tough to be reminded that the working day is up and it's time for a break. They've worked very hard and served this organization remarkably well. But I want to thank Kate Bailey, our Vice President of Marketing and Communications, Phil Goth, the Vice President, Operations and Client Experience, Kate Parker, Vice President People, Derek Patterson, or Vice President Regulatory Leadership and Corporate Secretary, Claudio Bini, Chief Information Officer, Ob Van Portfleet, Vice President Data Analytics and Decision Science, and Wesley Maw, our newest member of the executive, Vice President Finance. A special thank you I need to extend to our lead executive officer and president, Catherine Roon. Catherine has just, I think, provided amazing leadership to this organization through these challenging days. She's played a pivotal role in guiding TSBC through trying times. She's led with both ingenuity and a very level-minded approach. And our organization, our provinces, is so fortunate to have Catherine at the helm. She's done a remarkable job, and I'm every day appreciative of the great work that she has done. Over the course of the past year, I've observed Technical Safety BC redouble its efforts to build a safer British Columbia. Despite the challenges this year presented, the organizations continued to identify and address hazards and provide new tools, knowledge, and industry training to reduce incidents and injuries, all while maintaining a keen focus on implementing our 10-year strategy. Mid-year, our organization completely revised its business plan with a particular focus on better integrating technology and humanity as it relates to the safety system. Whether it was working with industry partners to optimize our education tools, improving processes to ease lengthy transaction times, or removing barriers on British Columbians so they could better access our products. Technical Safety BC worked to support our clients every step of the way. This year, our organization made tremendous strides in our mission to help clients and stakeholders prioritize safety in their own businesses. I'd also like to give thanks to all of our employees, both those working remotely and those who continue to carry out essential in-person business activities. This past year, you have demonstrated remarkable resiliency. Again, it's not easy working from home. It's not easy working at all during these trying times, but I know people have made special efforts to try to ensure they do great work over the course of the year. In closing, I want to part with some words of optimism. Despite the many challenges this past year has presented, it's also demonstrated the resiliency, determination, and commitment of all those in our safety system. As a province moves forward to increase vaccinations, our lives will slowly return to normalcy. However, the innovations we have developed throughout the time will serve generations of British Columbians to come. At Technical Safety BC, we will continue to work with our industry stakeholders to ensure a robust safety system for all British Columbians. So thank you again, so many of you for joining us today. Record turnout for this annual public meeting, and we're very appreciative of your attendance. Look forward to your questions and observations later on. It's now my pleasure to introduce Technical Safety BC's President and Lead Executive Officer, Catherine Roon. Catherine.
Thank you, George. Good morning. Thank you for joining us for our annual public meeting, Core Connections 2021. One of the core principles that all our employees strive to live by at Technical Safety BC is that we model the integration of technology and humanity. This virtual Core Connections event, our second since the pandemic began, is one example of that. An opportunity to scale up from a smaller in-person meeting to one where technology allows us to connect with hundreds of people from all across British Columbia. Today, I'm speaking with you from the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territory of the Musqueam, the Tsleil-Waututh, and the Squamish nations. And I know that you are joining us today from many places near and far, and I acknowledge the traditional owners and caretakers of those lands. I'm a guest on these lands, and I'm honored to have raised my family here and to continue to work from my home and enjoy the beauty that is all around me, lands which have been stewarded and protected by Indigenous peoples since time immemorial. And I want to express my gratitude and raise my hands to George Taylor from the Kwakwaka'wakw Nation for his welcome and support of our gathering today to talk about safe technical systems everywhere. This past year has been, as George said, and continues to be a testament to our strength when we work together. To our clients, our partners and stakeholders across British Columbia who continue to put safety first during this challenging time, thank you. You have worked hard to not only keep British Columbians safe in the here and now, but you have set the foundation for all of us to once again thrive in the future. And today we'll look back at 2020, the highs and lows of a year like no other, as well as what we're doing to respond, recover, and thrive in 2021 and beyond, sharing how our organization is furthering our mandate to support the safety system and our vision of safe technical systems everywhere. So looking back, 2020 was a year that brought incredible challenges and incredible opportunity. Together, we adapted to ever-shifting public health restrictions, which led us to transform how we do business in some fundamental ways. Through a guiding framework of respond, recover, and thrive, our employees and leadership team worked with our clients and communities to find creative solutions and build an even stronger foundation for safety oversight, while putting the health and safety of our employees and clients first. COVID-19 both forced us and, yes, inspired us to further innovate at a rapid pace. We accelerated strategies already in place for our social responsibility plans and our digital transformation to best adapt to the impacts of the pandemic. But at the same time as we talk about accomplishments, we also need to be candid that not everything has been as smooth as we would have liked. While we adapted to what was happening around us, I know that the changes imposed upon contractors and other clients meant additional effort. For instance, the need to provide us with photographs of jobs versus a safety officer conducting a physical assessment, that added time and additional burden on your work. And that came at a time when you were also trying to respond and recover as businesses. There have been and continue to be challenges. At Technical Safety BC, we acknowledge that. We own our issues. And as lead executive officer, I want to personally thank you, not just for your patience as we work through these issues, but also for your commitment to ensure the standard of safety that we have all set is maintained and enhanced, despite all that has gone on around us. At the same time as we acknowledge the challenges, we also need to mark the achievements. Many of the changes we've seen over the past year will also bring long-term benefits, both to Technical BC and to our clients. For example, new tools to better manage emerging safety risks were combined with overall service improvements to clients, and those efforts took time and they are making headway now. Additionally, our internal business transformation project made progress towards empowering clients and employees with a smoother, more client-centric digital experience. Some of the most significant changes include remote working capabilities that have accelerated our technology plans, such as implementing a system to allow our client care team to operate our contact center remotely. Remote inspections have allowed our safety officers to conduct assessments of many types of equipment remotely. Online exam capabilities have made it possible for most of our certification exams to be offered digitally. In 2020, we also continued to focus on critical public safety issues by investigating and reporting on incidents. And there are two in particular over the past year that I want to touch on because they really encapsulate why we're here, why the work that Technical Safety BC does that you do with us is so critical. These are our efforts to educate the public on the dangers of carbon monoxide. My thoughts are with the families and friends of those who lost their lives last year in preventable accidents. We know we live in a province that has seen its fair share of risk and tragedy. In particular, 2 terrible incidents last summer, one in Ruby Lake on the Sunshine Coast and the other in Tulameen near Princeton. These were simply British Columbians enjoying a summer vacation getaway in a property they assumed was safe, that the owners assumed was safe, but it wasn't. Improperly installed or uncertified equipment without the proper ventilation cost lives, and it was entirely preventable. These tragic incidents remind us that the safety of technical equipment touches every facet of our lives, and that hiring qualified contractors is an essential safeguard of our safety system. So from a discussion of near-term risks to what we're doing about core issues in relation to safeguarding the planet. Over the past year, a priority was also placed on organizational action towards fighting climate change. Our goal is setting emissions reduction targets in key areas of our business and implementing strategies to meet those targets. This is something that you're going to hear me speak about much more over the coming year, and it goes far beyond simply doing the right thing. We know that the effects of climate change are going to start impacting our safety system in much more pronounced ways. Equipment that never used to be will be impacted by floods, by forest fires, by sea level rise and inundation, and we need to be ready for that. And on a personal note, where I feel my role as a leader of this organization very directly, we humbly continue our learning journey at Technical Safety BC towards reconciliation with Indigenous communities, and that journey will continue in even more meaningful ways over 2021 and beyond. I'm on my own learning path around Indigenous ways of knowing and being, and I thank my many teachers. So looking into 2021 and beyond in our state of safety, today's annual report also gives me an opportunity to provide a summary of the results and efforts undertaken over the last year to ensure safety across BC's integral technical systems. Despite the pandemic, our team completed more than 45,000 assessments in 2020. Now, in a typical year, we would do approximately 40,000 assessments all in person. Last year, 20,300 of those were conducted remotely, with the remaining 25,000 done in person. I believe this tells a remarkable success story in terms of not only managing through the pandemic, but utilizing remote technology and analytics based on data to actually do more inspections than we otherwise could have. This technology in practice is early and it's challenging, but its ability to lead to learning is outstanding. In 2020, there were 100,152 active operating permits across the province in electrical systems, gas, boilers, pressure vessels, and refrigeration, ropeways like ski lifts, amusement devices, and railways. Safety statistics illustrate an important outcome with 3.49% decrease in injuries compared to 2019. And a decrease in the number of incidents reported. In other words, despite a global pandemic, despite an unprecedented move to remote working, our reliance on innovating quickly despite everything that took place over the last year, British Columbia became a safer place. And yes, our team gets to talk about those results, but the reality is that you, our clients and stakeholders, deserve the credit for putting safety first. And let me share one example of safety innovation in action before I wrap up. Many of you will remember the ammonia leak that took place at the Fernie Memorial Arena in October 2017, 4.5 years ago. 3 people lost their lives. And out of that tragedy, we determined that simply adding regulations or new rules was not going to solve the root cause of that accident. The problem was deeper. And so last year, after a lot of research, but more importantly, after a lot of listening, we launched our Ammonia safety program aimed at building a stronger safety culture. Education first. We are doing this by arming facility owners, managers, supervisors, and municipal councils with a greater awareness of the safety risks related to ammonia refrigeration equipment through webinars, education materials, forums for knowledge transfer. British Columbians will be safer and better protected because of it. In conclusion, our focus for the future comes down to two critical areas. The first is supporting our employees and clients to recover and thrive. We will continue to work with our clients to help you recover from the impacts of the pandemic and to improve how you can participate in the safety system more easily and effectively. And support all individuals with their own personal health, mental and physical, as we come out of this pandemic. The second area is keeping people at the center of everything we do as we continue our business transformation. We will make the processes we use to issue permits, licenses, and certifications better for our employees and our clients. Leadership is, by my definition, a combination of courage and authenticity. The courage to stretch and learn towards achieving our milestones set out in our 10-year strategy. The humility and ownership that not all our plans are perfect. We strive for improvement, and we hope you see us listening in our 2021 to 2023 business plan. We improve by putting people top of mind. We're in the business of technology, to be sure, but it is people, our clients, who install and operate technology, who stand between catastrophic incidents and the public. And people, our employees, who strive each and every day to fulfill our public mandate of ensuring the safety of critical infrastructure for all British Columbians. I'm sincerely optimistic for what's to come as we embrace innovation in our ever-changing world, and as we forge a better path forward towards our vision of safe technical systems everywhere. Thank you. And back to you, Nicola.
Thank you, George and Catherine. This has been a challenging year, and it's great to hear those inspiring words from you. Also, as an Indigenous person working at Technical Safety BC, I'm very grateful to have a leadership that is so committed to reconciliation. And with that, I'd also like to remind all attendees to please keep the chat a safe space for everyone. We're all reading your comments here. Now, please join me in welcoming Wesley Ma, our Vice President of Finance, to provide our 2020 financial update. He'll be speaking to the details of the annual report, which is available online. So Wesley joined the executive team permanently in December 2020. Despite the difficulties this year presented, Wesley rose to the occasion and helped guide our organization through a very uncertain time. Please welcome Wesley.
Thank you very much, and good morning, everyone. So thank you all for joining us today. My name is Wesley. I'm Vice President of Finance with Technical Safety BC. I'm very pleased to be here to provide you a summary of our 2020 financial performance. Firstly, I'd like to acknowledge that I'm speaking to you from Burnaby, unceded territory of Musqueam, Squamish, Tsleil-Waututh nations. So while we at Technical Safety BC have a very positive story of recovery to tell about the past year, the resilience of our people and clients, the dedication of keeping British Columbians safe despite the global pandemic, there's no avoiding the fact that from financial perspective, 2020 was a super challenging year for us, as it was for many of you in your organization. The total revenue was 69.2 million for us, which is 1.5 million below 2019 and $5 million below our budget. That is $5 million we were counting on as part of our long-term plan that we no longer have to work with. And this $5 million shortage also need to be coupled with the significant unbudgeted expense over the past year to meet our occupational health and safety requirements and to support our employee working remotely. This including office reconfigurations for social distancing, purchasing COVID protective supplies, and setting up remote working and remote assessment infrastructure to allow our employee to continue to do their important work. So if we add all those together, the total gap for us during this year was actually $7 to $8 million. However, despite those numbers, I would say we're still fortunate compared to other industries and other colleague organizations which suffered from probably much more severe revenue loss during the pandemic. I believe part of the reason that we're doing better in BC is due to the steps government took to stimulate the economy and in particular, the construction market. On the positive side, we were able to react to the pandemic quickly. We revised our 2020 budget and the 2020 business plan in April using a scenario-based and a zero-based approach. After that, thanks to the effort of the whole organization, including reducing our variable incentive payout, executive compensation, and other measures, I'm pleased to say that we were able to successfully eliminate the equivalent amount of this loss in the cost. As such, we achieved a break-even result at the end of 2020. We have successfully maintained our operating reserve level at around $10 million, which underpins the resilience and the sustainability of technical safety BC for the future. I'm also particularly proud that we follow the people first approach in the past year. That applies to putting our employee first by not turning to the workforce reduction as part of our effort to deliver the balanced budget. This was an important decision made by our board and our lead executive officer. And I think it was a right decision. We did not need to look at any employee layoff in order to achieve this break-even result, which I believe we can all feel very good about. So that's the summary of our 2020 financial result. And you can find more details from our annual report that is available on our website. And looking ahead, the COVID-19 pandemic continues to have a significant impact to our economy, our business, and that impact is constantly evolving. So let me share a quick update on how we're doing as of today. Thanks to the continued hot housing market in BC, our total revenue in Q1 surpassed our budget by $1.2 million. The majority of this is from our residential installation permit. Of course, we're still in the midst of the pandemic right now, and so our finance team is closely monitoring the trend. However, I'm feeling cautiously optimistic about what we have seen so far. On the expense side, we remain very careful on the spending in both operating and capital expense, while still doing what we need to do to support our employees and our clients. As I mentioned, our budget is zero-based and a scenario-based budget. So we will only release additional funding if there's a clear indicator showing where our forecast revenue will exceed our budget by a material amount. We need to remain accountable to our break-even target as we continue to work through a very challenging time for our organization, our employee, and also the people of British Columbia that we serve. However, as I mentioned, we have taken the right action to weather the storm, and I remain cautiously optimistic about what to come. So thank you so much. Back to you, Nicola.
Thank you, Wesley, and thank you for your leadership during this time. You have definitely helped us weather the storm. Okay, this brings us to the question period. For those wishing to submit questions, please use the Q&A function available at the bottom of your screen. I see some of you have gotten there already. You can also take a look at the questions attendees have already submitted and upvote any you would also like to hear answered. Please don't be shy. This is an opportunity for you as stakeholders to provide feedback, share ideas, and have your questions answered by our executive team. Thank you to all of those of you who submitted questions in advance. We have collated the questions and will respond to the most common questions first. If we don't get to your question today, don't worry, we'll respond to any questions we can't get to now via email. Okay, so our first question is for Phil Goth, our VP Operations and Client Experience. So question number 1, why did you implement charging contractors for re-inspection after code violations when inspectors ask for photos of the fixes and not reattend the site? This is in relation to electrical.
Well, thanks for the question, Nicola, and to the client who brought it. And good morning, everyone. So when a safety officer identifies a non-compliance during an inspection, particularly one that they deem to be quite hazardous, they may choose to re-inspect that non-compliance to verify that indeed it has been addressed. And the safety officer will charge a re-inspection fee at our safety services rate for that inspection. If the safety officer is prepared to accept a photo instead, then the safety officer will verify the non-compliance addressal of it through the photo, and we will charge a safety services rate at a flat rate of 30 minutes. So this rate affords the flexibility and the cost efficiency to do it through remote means with photographs. Hope that answers the question.
Thank you, Phil. Our next question is also for you, so don't go anywhere. What is your percentage of on-site inspections versus waiving the inspection request? How do you justify your fees if inspectors are not physically inspecting?
Okay, so thank you for that. We practice a risk-based safety assessment program, and in 2020, we assessed just over 16% of all inspections or all installations. And so that works out to about 1 in 6. So, and we typically aim to get as much as up to 20%, which would mean 1 in 5. So safety officers inspect between 3 and 6 sites on any given day. And that variability is due to the fact that they're, different distances that they need to travel or the length of certain inspections. There are times where a boiler safety officer could spend as much as 4 hours on a site. So they waive a fair deal as well. So they would waive 80%, and in 2020, we waived 84%. I do want to say also that the choice of the inspections that we do go to, there is for electrical and gas, these are risk-based prioritized inspections. So whether we're looking to gain a certain insight from a random sample, or there is a risk that has been deemed, we have a machine learning algorithm that assesses 100% of those, or sometimes there are some specific rules or decision rules by which we will go to them. And of course, safety officers have knowledge of what's going on with their contractors and in their areas, and they use their own discretion and expert knowledge to decide where to go as well. So that's the answer. Thanks.
Thanks, Phil. Our next question goes to Catherine. With the supply chain shocks, lumber, overseas freight, etc., hitting the residential construction markets that are mostly operating at all-time highs, how will these be impacting the market over the next 18 months, as well as Techno Safety BC's finances?
Thank you for the question. Yeah, the supply chain, I'm not sure if it was supply chain that impacted lumber or whether it's the housing starts in the US. So demand is incredibly high, has driven that commodity up, as the person who asked the question knows. I think a 2x4 went from $2.50 to almost $8 or $9 now. Well, of course, residential construction costs have gone up, probably more than 5%, probably in some cases 10 to 15%. And we know as a regulator that some of that cost being driven up includes regulatory costs going up. What I think from a market perspective we're going to see this year is there's so much pent up, both housing, high immigration, and also a desire for people to do renovations. We're going to see a very strong build market that's going to continue for the balance of the year. And so we predicted that in our budget, maybe not to the extent that Wesley has outlined in Q1. We didn't think it would start that quickly. But I think for all of our contractors who are in construction, they're going to see a very, very busy year, and it's going to continue through into 2022. And we can see other policy objectives by government to kind of moderate housing. But I think that anyone who's doing work in residential construction is going to be busy, and it will impact us for sure.
Thank you, Catherine. So the next question is for Wesley. How much of a financial impact will returning to offices and reduced work from home have on Technical Safety BC's finances?
So I think very fortunate last year in Q3, we already spent close to 300K to reconfigure our office in order to prepare for people come back to office before the third wave. So right now I have to say, like, the office is fully ready for people to come back to the office. So the direct impact from this round probably is minimum, and probably the impact will be positive if we're going to have a hybrid mode of people work from home and using the office. That probably will help us to increase our productivity. That will indirectly have a positive impact to our finance this year.
Thank you, Wesley. The next question will be for Phil. Will Technical Safety BC be certifying their elevating device inspectors to access elevator hoistways for them to actually perform thorough inspections?
The short answer to that is yes, and we have completed a training program, and a full process has been documented internally. We have a number of folks, or a few safety officers, that have been trained on it, and so they are now going to become trainers. And that process has begun and will continue in through the summer months. So yes, our safety officers will be retrained in many cases, for many of them, to be able to access hoistways and conduct inspections in those environments.
Thank you, Phil. This one is for Catherine. With vaccination rates rising, what's the date and target for social distancing and other COVID prevention measures being lifted on the work sites?
Thank you for that question. I think that, sorry, I'm just gonna. We are an essential service. So we always had safety officers going to site if they needed to. I think we're going to see a change over the summer with much more interaction, though, because of the scale of construction. But we never did prevent our safety officers from being on site if it was deemed essential and high risk. So we will see for our office employees a return to the office in September.
Thank you, Catherine. So this is another question for Phil, a follow-up to the previous one. Are there plans to hire more elevating device inspectors so more annual device inspections can be completed here on Vancouver Island?
There are plans. We are looking at our current staffing levels, and we are looking at the team configuration. I cannot confirm yet that there are plans to actually hire more, but that is one of the options that are under consideration as we go forward. We have undertaken a pretty comprehensive review of our elevating assessment program. And so the short answer is that is something that is under consideration amongst a number of other things that we're looking at.
Thanks, Phil. Here's another one for you.
Okay.
What is being done to help streamline the annual operating permit renewals? There seems to be an ongoing issue with permits being in an expired state because the FSR has not been confirmed by the duty holder.
So to answer to that specifically, I'm not able to really talk about the specific details because I'm not aware of them. But what I can say is that the organization is in the process of a business transformation. We are switching our system And so the way we will do that is through modules over the months and years to come. And when we look at permitting, this will be looked at very carefully. The workflow and some of the issues with the current design of how we do that will all be in scope. So the expectation would be that within the next 2 years at the most, we would look at that more comprehensively. And I can say that on a daily basis, the client experience team are constantly looking at ways to try and improve the speed and the complexity of what we're doing. In some cases, it's through more manual processes. We recently, for certifications, have I think just yesterday or the day before, experimented with something called robotic process automation to try and support things to make them go faster. That's more of a bridging tool. So there's always short-term initiatives looking at making things more effective, and there is a more comprehensive solution coming, I would say, in the next couple of years.
Okay, thank you, Phil. The next question is for Kate Bailey. What steps is Technical Safety BC taking to ensure that clients and stakeholders are informed about changes to how Technical Safety BC operates, regulatory changes, etc.? Just this morning, I was made aware of the Engage Technical Safety BC site that appears to have been active for some time.
So thank you for that question. Yes, in fact, the Engage Technical Safety BC site is quite new for us, actually. It just came out of pilot a few weeks ago. We have launched it essentially in conjunction with this event and our annual report. We've tested it through a few consultations previously, but I would actually say that this is a relatively new venture for us in terms of improving our digital engagement and the breadth of our engagement with stakeholders across the province. So one of the things that we have found with previous engagement activities is that they have tended to limit us to the number and type of people that we are able to engage with, where we have found through pilot, this Engage site has really helped us broaden the perspectives that we're able to bring into the organization in order to help us help inform all of the programs that we do, whether they be regulatory programs or behaviorally driven programs. And so there's actually much more to come when it comes to how we will continue to engage with our clients, our stakeholders, and the public. We're hoping to continue to develop the site. And we're actually quite excited about the possibilities that it's going to bring us to really start to bring in the perspective of our clients, particularly when it comes to making our processes and our products much more accessible to them, whether that be improving remote assessment as a process and lowering barriers for permitting, for certification, and for licensing. So we're actually quite excited about this new site, but it is new and there is definitely more communication to come.
Thank you very much, Kate. So the next question is for Og. What was the outcome for the Squamish gondola that got cut twice?
Thank you for the question around the incident investigation. We investigated both incidents together with other parties because there's a police investigation going on as well. I will only speak to our investigation. And as with any investigation, we determined what caused this incident to happen. And we worked together with a laboratory and we determined that with 100% certainty, this was not a technical failure. This was the result of a deliberate act where the cable was damaged and as a consequence, the accident happened. So we did a laboratory investigation together with the police. We shared the outcome so they have full access to it. And we will continue to support investigations when people call on us.
Thank you. So our next question is for Catherine. What are the key performance indicators Technical Safety BC is using to measure performance in pressure equipment and electrical disciplines?
Thank you for the question. So to measure performance, there's a few of them, and part of our metrics go to the hazards that we find in all of our technologies. So we do have an ethic in the organization that we want to have an increasing ability to find high hazards and remove them. This is how we know that we're doing a very strong job on safety. Actually measuring lack of incidents is problematic because not all incidents are reported. And of course, you're measuring the negative event in a positive way, which is something didn't occur. But we do measure the number of high hazards that are found. And those are found by our frontline professionals in how they apply their judgment every day. It's also found during our machine learning. So we have predictive analytics that tell us that we understand there likely would be a high hazard, and then we assess to determine that. So in terms of the metrics around safety for pressure vessels in particular, and for all of our technologies, that's our principal way of understanding that we're controlling the risk. But safety is not simply the assessment of a device and how it's found, but it's also the ability to confirm that the people who are working on the equipment are doing that well, and that they have a certification credential that meets their needs in terms of their learning and education. Safety also includes an assessment of the owner of that asset and having all of the requirements that that owner needs to do in law being delivered. So when we look at safety, we look at it as many, many different layers to prevent an accident, not simply the equipment itself and where it is in its life cycle from design and installation all the way to end of life, but the behaviors of the people who are maintaining that piece of equipment or who are making the resourcing decisions to put maintenance money into that asset. From a broader perspective across the province, I would say that we're seeing increased support for education in general. We're also seeing asset owners taking responsibility for their equipment and hiring new licensed contractors, which is very rewarding for us to see, because we do know that it is licensed contractors who stand between critical safety incident and the public.
Thank you, Catherine. So there's another follow-up question about the Squamish gondola, but this one I'm going to send to George. Can you speak to the threat of the gondola being cut in an act of vandalism again? And is there any risk in the future to gondola users?
Well, so excellent question, and I'll do my best as a sort of non-professional in this area to respond. Obviously, everyone is hugely concerned about the occurrence, the initial occurrence, and then the recurrence around the gondola. And I am absolutely certain, and again, I have no special knowledge about this. I'm a board chair and an observer, but clearly this is something that has to be of huge concern to not only the facility and the owners and future users, but to the community and to the province. We pride ourselves, I think, as a province on being a safe place to live, work, and play, and anything that undermines that is obviously something that is most unwelcome in our society. I know the RCMP and all the investigators are doing their very best to try to understand what happened and why it happened and who initiated this. So I mean, I'm optimistic that there will be a corner turned, and that in fact we will emerge from this in a safer place. People are working very hard to ensure that we can enjoy a safe environment regardless of where we are in British Columbia, and this is front of mind for a lot of people as they are trying to solve what has occurred there to date. So hopefully that's helpful. It is non-technical and non-professional, but it is hugely important, I think, to this organization and this province that situation be resolved.
Thank you, George.
I can help out too and supplement George. we've been working with industry on the security front post the gondola cable cutting to look at security measures. And we've had a couple of security forums that we have helped to coordinate with the Canada West Ski Areas Association to get industry feedback. We brought in cybersecurity experts, also personnel from the insurance industry to look at what additional physical security measures can also be instituted around ropeways that will elevate safety for the public, and to give operators, to give them better information on how they can best protect their own equipment. And so it's an ongoing initiative with industry, and it's an area where I think it's an approach we're trying to take in working with industry, and recognizing that not every situation requires a regulatory approach. Industry may have good answers of what are best practice standards that they can share with their members. So it's been a very good dialogue that we've had with the passenger ropeways industry. So thank you, Nicola.
Thank you, Derek. Okay, we have one last question today, and that one is going to go to Catherine. What methods are available to the Safety Authority to address companies who do not carry out their inspection and contractual maintenance requirements and have proprietary software making going to another company impossible?
If I understand the question, it's coming from somebody who may have a concern about an organization that's operating assets in a way that's non-compliant. We have a very strong compliance and enforcement team. I do feel that in the safety system, we have a view that education is the most important thing that we do. The majority of people out there want to do the right thing. We assess and we do research based on the data that we find through our assessment in order to improve all the different aspects of improving risk mitigation across the province. But if those methods fail, we will move to compliance and enforcement. We do have multiple channels for advising our internal teams if there's a belief that a company is not working the way it should. And companies do have a responsibility to name their maintenance contractors or their FSR in the case of electrical. And if somebody is still being named by a company, but they are no longer actually doing the work, they need to advise the company and they need to advise us, because that's illegal for the company to continue to say that somebody else is doing the work when they're not. And I would say that our compliance and enforcement team use data analytics very extensively, as well as on-site audits when the pandemic enables us to do so, and do have very strong methods for ensuring that people are no longer able to do non-compliant work, up to and including monetary penalties, and including the ability for us to no longer allow that company to operate.
Thank you, Catherine. And everyone, remember that if your question was not answered here live, we will get back to you via email. So just stay tuned for that. Now that's an end to our question period. So now that you've heard a bit about our business performance in 2020, the state of safety across British Columbia, and some of the new initiatives we're working on this year, it's time to start our breakout sessions. This year's event features 4 breakout sessions covering topics ranging from the future of assessments to the impacts of climate change, carbon monoxide safety risks, and wearable sensors' role in the workplace. This year, we'll be using our new engagement tool, Engage Technical Safety BC. Our Engage site will be updated throughout the year, and all of the feedback provided during today's sessions will be shared after the event. For Core Connections 2021, our organization wanted to ensure that we provide opportunities for all attendees to be heard. That's why we have created these smaller facilitated sessions. Each session will feature a brief presentation from industry experts and then will be open for dialogue. This is a space to test ideas, co-create solutions, and build relationships across our industry. If you would like to participate in one of the breakout sessions today, but you were unable to pre-register, don't worry, it's not a problem. The registration links for each session have been added to the Zoom chat. We encourage you to register as soon as possible though, because once the sessions begin, you won't be able to register. So go do that right now if there's something you're interested in. Okay, before we break off into smaller groups, I just want to say a big thank you to today's presenters and all of you in attendance today. We hope that by the end of today, you will leave feeling confident about the state of safety in our province and even inspired by the work ahead. Although our industry has a long road to recovery from this pandemic, together we can adapt to the challenges of tomorrow and ensure there are safe technical systems everywhere in British Columbia. And you can stay connected with us by signing up for our email alerts, newsletters, information bulletins, and safety directives, registering with our Learning Center, or following us on LinkedIn, Facebook, or Twitter. Thanks again for taking the time to join us today, and enjoy the breakout sessions.